It's around 2 years now since Molson Coors bought a controlling interest in Cobra. So what does that mean practically for the business? And for you, kind of looking back now, was it the right thing to do that in terms of a business move, would you say?
4 years ago, I nearly lost everything. In fact, on 3 occasions in my journey, I've nearly lost the business. And the worst was 4 years ago. And we were forced to put the company up for sale. Fortunately, we didn't end up selling the company. We formed a joint venture with Molson Coors, who have 50.1%, and I have 49.9% with my shareholders. And I chair the joint venture. It is a long-term joint venture, but at the end of the joint venture, I can buy them out and they can buy me out. We have that option, or we can carry on forever. We also, 2 years ago, signed a joint venture with Molson Coors for India, along the same lines.
Great. And looking back, is that the right thing to do? How does it help practically, or what's their involvement practically in Molson Coors?
Having Molson Coors as a partner has worked incredibly well because we have a combination of a giant global brewer, in fact the largest family brewers in the world, with an entrepreneurial company like Cobra merged together. So you have the best of both worlds. We have all the manufacturing, distribution, marketing, sales, clout and reach of Molson Coors, combined with the entrepreneurial flair and creativity and spirit of Cobra. And the two go together very, very well. It is the best of both worlds. And most importantly, it works because our cultures and values are very similar, because of a founder-led entrepreneurial company, and also Molson Coors. To this day, the Coors family and the Molson family are very engaged in the business. And so that family influence permeates throughout Molson Coors globally. So that makes it work really, really well. There's great total trust, which is essential, and also mutual respect, which is essential as well. And that works really, really well. My team's fully integrated with Molson Coors. I'm fully integrated with Molson Coors, and it works very well.
Brilliant. Now the beer market is changing day by day. There's a real surge in, what's called craft beer, the small batches of beer, handcrafted by microbreweries, sometimes even nano breweries, tiny, tiny barrel plants. There's the alcoholic ginger beers, and then if you move away from beer, there's cider markets going crazy. So many different types of ciders around and beers around. So how closely do you look at the competition, and what do you make of the competition that is out there now for your beer? Because it seems to be so much more competitive now than it ever has been.
The beer market has been changing. In 1960, before I was born, 1% of beer in the UK was lager and 99% was ale. By the time I started Cobra, it was 50% ale, 50% lager. Today it's 80% lager, 20% ale. But also within that growth of lager, you have premium lagers, which have been growing very quickly. And within the premium lagers, you have the world beers, of which Cobra is one, which have been growing even more rapidly. And I did a course at the Harvard Business School, and one of my favorite professors, Ben Shapiro, always taught about segmentation. You can always segment any market almost infinitely. And here's a perfect example of segmentation within the beer market. And the beauty of it is you can have an overall market like beer, which has been declining. The beer market has declined in the UK 30% in the last 30 years. And yet within a declining market, there are segments within that market that have been increasing. And the world beer market to this day is growing in double digits, while the beer market in the UK is dropping 5 to 6% year on year. So we're in absolutely the right segment within the beer market. And we're considered one of the main world beers in the UK and a household names, which I'm very proud of, because I often challenge people and say, name a household beer brand in the UK that is less than 50 years old. In fact, often people can't name one that's less than 100 years old. Most beer brands are ancient, and Cobra is just a couple of decades old. So that's something I'm quite proud of, in having achieved that for a beer brand. And of course, what I love is the way that now there's so much innovation going on in the beer market, with craft beers, with flavored beers, and Cobra has been very much part of that, with the King Cobra that we created with our non-alcoholic beer, which is now one of the top 2 non-alcoholic beers in the supermarket. And we also have brought out a range of flavored beers that we trialed called Cobra Bite, which were very well received, which we hope to introduce into the marketplace. So there are a lot of options, and it's very exciting, and I like that. And Cobra itself you could almost say is a craft beer because it was created from scratch, a very complex recipe, and is a growing brand from a very small beginning where we spotted a gap in the market and a market in the gap.
Any competitors in your segment that you are looking at and kind of keeping an eye on closely, would you say?
No, we keep an eye on everybody. Of course, we look at all the other world beers in the Indian market, Indian restaurant space. Kingfisher was there 8 years before we started. Kingfisher is the biggest beer brand in India. Here in the UK, I'm proud to say we're now 5 times bigger than Kingfisher, even though they started 8 years before we did, and even though they are huge in India. We also, of course, look at all the other world beers and see how they're doing. So we always keep an eye, but we don't look over our shoulder the whole time. We're always looking ahead and trying to be innovative and creative in our own right.
Excellent. Speaking of looking ahead, any future plans for the Cobra business that you can reveal to us?
Well, our Indian business is growing very, very rapidly. The Indian beer market is today one of the smallest in the world. The per capita consumption of beer in India is just 1.5 litres per person per year. But a decade ago, it was 0.5 litre per person per year. And it's growing in double digits as a market. And to catch up with China, the Indian beer market would have to grow 20 times because the Chinese per capita consumption is over 35 litres per person per year. And now China is by far the biggest beer market in the world. It overtook the United States a few years ago. But even China, 35 litres is nothing. In the UK, our beer consumption is more than double that. And even ours, in comparison with a country like the Czech Republic, the highest in the world, the Czech Republic beer consumption is 140 litres per person. Now, I'm not saying India will ever increase 100 times to get up to Czech Republic levels, but it'll certainly catch up with China. And China's not going to stand still. So I really think that in India, Molson Coors Cobra is in the right sector, in the right market, the right country. And India's growth rates, although they've slowed down to 5% just now, they were almost 10% just a few years ago. And that growth momentum in India is there to stay looking ahead. Great.
So you're thinking of new products in India at all? Or
yes,
just kind of,
we will always be innovative. We've got some innovation in pipeline that we're working on.